At some point every evening, they disappear. One moment your yard is alive, the cardinal at the feeder, the chickadee moving through the maple, the robin pulling the last worm from the lawn before the light goes. And then, in the space of about 20 minutes, they are gone. The feeders are empty. The branches are still. The yard that was full of life an hour ago looks like a different place entirely. Where did they go? Most people assume the birds are simply somewhere else in the neighborhood, flying around, roosting vaguely in trees, doing whatever birds do when humans stop watching. But the reality is far more specific, far more deliberate, and far stranger than most people realize. In this video, I am going to show you 5 things. Where your cardinal is sleeping right now, tonight, as you watch this. How your chickadee is keeping itself alive through temperatures that should kill it. The bird in your yard that is asleep and watching you simultaneously. Which of your daytime birds are secretly active after dark? And the thing passing over your house right now in the millions that almost nobody ever sees. Stay for all 5 because number 3 is the one that changes everything. Welcome back to Bird's Eye Psychology. Subscribe before you go anywhere, because what you are about to learn happens every single night in your yard, completely invisible to you. And once you see it, you will never look at your yard the same way again.
Let us start with number 1, where your cardinal is right now. Cardinals do not roost far from where they spend the day. In the hour before sunset, a male cardinal will move to dense vegetation, typically a thicket, an evergreen shrub, or a tangle of vines within a few hundred feet of his daytime territory. He chooses the densest cover available, not for warmth primarily, but for protection. A sleeping bird is a vulnerable bird, and dense vegetation is the closest thing to invisibility a cardinal can achieve. He will go to the same roost site night after night for weeks or months at a time. If you have a thick holly bush or a dense arborvitae hedge in your yard, there's a reasonable chance a cardinal has been sleeping in it every night this winter without you knowing. Now the chickadee, number 2, and this one is considerably more surprising. On cold nights, black-capped chickadees enter a state called regulated hypothermia. They deliberately lower their body temperature by up to 22 degrees Fahrenheit below their normal daytime temperature. Their metabolism slows dramatically, their heart rate drops. A chickadee weighs about 11 grams, the weight of 2 pennies. On a cold winter night, the energy budget of that tiny bird is so tight that without regulated hypothermia, it might not survive to morning. With it, it does, night after night, through temperatures that would kill an unprotected animal of that size within hours. But here is where it gets really strange, because what I am about to tell you about number 3 will make you look at every bird in your yard completely differently. Your birds are not fully asleep tonight, not one of them.
This is number 3, and it is the one most people cannot believe when they first hear it. Birds sleep with one eye open. Not as a figure of speech, literally. It is called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. One hemisphere of the brain enters a sleep state while the other remains completely active and alert, the open eye scanning for predators. The sleeping and waking hemispheres switch periodically, so both sides get rest, but the bird is never completely unconscious in the way a sleeping human is. Cornell Lab of Ornithology researchers studying mallard ducks documented this with extraordinary precision. Ducks sleeping in a row at the edge of the group kept the outward-facing eye open, monitoring the environment. Ducks in the center of the group slept with both eyes closed. The vigilance was distributed across the flock. The same principle applies to the birds in your yard right now. When your chickadee is roosting in that tree cavity tonight, one eye is open, one hemisphere is awake. It is monitoring every sound in your yard, the snap of a branch, the scrape of a claw on bark,
the great horned owl calling from the oak at 10 p.m. That owl call is being heard by every single bird roosting in your yard right now. Your yard looks empty at midnight, dark, still, apparently lifeless, but it is full of birds in a state of active, distributed awareness, hidden in cavities and dense shrubs, monitoring the dark with one eye while the other hemisphere of the brain recovers. They are there. You simply cannot see them, and they are paying far more attention to the night than you are.
Now, number 4. This one surprises people every single time because it involves a bird you have definitely seen in your yard, a bird you think of as completely ordinary. And what it does after dark is the last thing anyone expects. The American robin. Most people think of the robin as the definition of a daytime bird, the early riser, the one pulling worms at sunrise, the bird that announces morning. What most people do not know is that robins are highly responsive to artificial light at night. In urban and suburban areas, robins in well-lit yards will begin singing hours before dawn, sometimes as early as 1 or 2 in the morning, because the artificial light triggers the same hormonal response as natural sunrise. If you have ever heard bird song in the middle of the night in a lit neighborhood, it was almost certainly a robin. The mourning dove presents a different surprise. Doves are among the heaviest sleepers in the backyard bird community during the day, slow-moving, unhurried, seemingly oblivious. But mourning doves are capable of remarkable nocturnal alertness when threatened. A dove that has been sitting motionless on a branch all afternoon will launch into fast whistling flight in complete darkness if a predator approaches. The wing whistle of a flushing dove, that distinctive, high-pitched sound as the wings cut the air, is itself a communication signal. It alerts every other dove in the area to danger, even in total darkness. Your daytime birds are not as asleep as you think.
And now, number 5. I saved this one for last because the scale of it is something most people never fully grasp, and once you understand it, you will never look at the night sky above your neighborhood the same way again. Twice a year, the night sky above your house fills with birds, not dozens, not hundreds. On peak migration nights in late April and early May, and again in September and October, the number of birds crossing over a single point in the eastern United States in a single night can reach into the millions. These are your birds, not exotic species from distant continents. The wood thrush that visits your yard in summer left last October and has been in Central America since then. Right now, in late April, it is flying north at night above your house. The ruby-throated hummingbird that will arrive at your feeder in May crossed the Gulf of Mexico last night in one 500-mile non-stop flight, navigating by stars and magnetic field, burning fat reserves equivalent to a person running back-to-back marathons. Birdcast, Cornell Labs' free migration monitoring system, tracks this in real time using Weather Service radar. On a peak migration night, the radar image of the eastern United States shows what looks like an enormous weather system moving northward. Not rain, not clouds, birds. The biological mass of migration is large enough to return radar signals that meteorologists had to learn to distinguish from precipitation. This is happening above your house tonight. The birds that will spend the summer in your yard, singing from your trees and feeding from your feeders, are passing over you right now in darkness, navigating a continent by light they can see that you cannot, following paths their ancestors traveled for millions of years.
The yard goes quiet at dusk. The feeders empty. The branches go still. But what you are looking at when you see that empty yard is not absence, it is concealment. The cardinal is in your holly bush, the chickadee is in the woodpecker hole in the oak. One eye open, one hemisphere awake, body temperature dropping, metabolism pulling back to the minimum required to survive until morning. Somewhere above your roofline, birds you will not see until May are passing through in their thousands. This happens every night. You have been living beside it for years without...
The yard goes quiet at dusk. The feeders empty. The branches go still. But what you are looking at when you see that empty yard is not absence. It is concealment. The cardinal is in your holly bush. The chickadee is in the woodpecker hole in the oak. One eye open, one hemisphere awake, body temperature dropping, metabolism pulling back to the minimum required to survive until morning. Somewhere above your roofline, birds you will not see until May are passing through in their thousands. This happens every night. You have been living beside it for years without knowing the full shape of it. Now you know. And the next time your yard goes quiet at dusk, the next time the feeder is empty and the branch is still, you will know that the birds have not gone anywhere. They have just moved into the part of their lives you have never been able to see. Tell me in the comments, have you ever heard birds singing in the middle of the night in your yard, or seen something moving through after dark that surprised you? I read every single one. I will see you in the next one.